Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm not really going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons and Suggestion, the spell, although you could take this Dungeons and Dragons meme and use it for your own purposes. It's completely up to you. No, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about, well, this is like a player guide or a player tip or what would you call it? I would call it a player guide or a player tip. Some juicy tidbits for you so you can survive and have a good time at your Dungeons and Dragons table, which I'm sure you're going to be doing shortly if you're playing a game weekly or fortnightly or something like that. So, what's the deal? Well, the deal is my player tip for today is feed your Dungeon Master, don't feed the monsters. Feed your Dungeon Master. Do not feed the monsters. Now, what the heck are you on about, Fred? Well, as it happens, I've believed this for many years, but I thought it was quite interesting because I've seen a few articles on YouTube, not YouTube, on the internet, and I think I saw like two videos on YouTube, and I thought I definitely want to talk about this. So to all those people playing Dungeons and Dragons, it is absolutely vital that you look after your Dungeon Master. They are a precious commodity. There's not a lot of them. There's more players than there are Dungeon Masters. So it really comes down to this. There just aren't enough people being Dungeon Masters. So to keep them happy, you really need to feed them. Feed them, look after them. Make sure you cater to their every whim. Well, not every single whim, but one of these whims is definitely food. And food is something that people need, and I would suggest making sure you feed your Dungeon Master foods that they like. And this will help improve their whole demeanor and way of sort of thinking and operating at your game table. So what are some of the benefits that you might achieve by feeding your Dungeon Master more often and providing them with foods that they like? Well, I would say they will keep you at the table. You know, that's the big thing, is they'll keep you at the table. They won't say, I don't really like that player. I've got too many people at my table as it is. I will kick this one out. The Dungeon Master's mood will probably improve because they're not worrying about what's there in their stomach or the lack of something in their stomach. You'd be surprised just how much weight food has. Food has a huge amount of weight when it comes to people. It certainly shifts and moves mountains. I've certainly found that in my own job recently. The Dungeon Master will subconsciously look more favorably upon the fate of your characters. Maybe not so much yourself. No, I'm only kidding. No, but your characters. Really, we don't want your character dying every single session, do we? I'm just going to cross my fingers and hope that I'm right about this one. But yes, I would say that your Dungeon Master, I know I would look more favorably upon a player's character if they feed me. It's hard not to do. The highlight for a Dungeon Master will be not just your excellent role-playing and the fact that you showed up on time and that you are a good player. It will also be your very generous nature because you've showed up with some extra pizza or a burger or some junk food that they particularly like, and you're sharing it with them and the group, which I think is something you want to duplicate as much as you possibly can. Okay. A happy Dungeon Master is much more fun to be around. Fundamentally, happiness starts with your stomach and then it goes to everywhere else. You start with the stomach, definitely food. I have found in my own job the amount of pull and significance that food has in culture is huge. It's absolutely huge. Bribing the Dungeon Master might seem a little bit underhanded. I know what you're thinking, Fred, that's really underhanded, but bribing the Dungeon Master with foods that they like will certainly make the session run more smoothly for you. And that is what you want. You want a smooth session, keep your character alive, maybe get to pick up a few juicy magic items or a little bit more treasure, they might be more favourable towards you just because of that. The Dungeon Master already brings so much to the table, and the least that most players can actually do is to actually bring along some food and feed them. Feed them for their efforts. They've gone to a lot of effort to actually do this in the first place, which is why I'm suggesting bring them food. Okay, so here's the thing that I find interesting, and that is if the Dungeon Master is not buying food to feed themselves, this is one of the good aspects of it. If the Dungeon Master is not buying food to feed themselves because you're buying them food, that means they have more money available to go and spend on those monster miniatures and the maps and the dice, those cool dice that he shows up with, or she shows up with, or whoever is your Dungeon Master. Maybe the house pet is doing your Dungeon Mastering at your table, I don't know. But this is the thing, they have more money available. Maybe that particular adventure you wanted to play, they can now afford to buy because you have provided them with a whole lot of additional food they don't have to pay for anymore. It shows your appreciation, so that really when a Dungeon Master has like a bad day or a rough session or a difficult day at work or at school or whatever it is, or just a difficult game session, they keep coming back. That's what you want, is you want your Dungeon Master to keep coming back. So appreciating your Dungeon Master, saying thank you, but providing food is a very smart move, and I highly recommend doing it as often as you possibly can. Okay, now, when your Dungeon Master opens up their particular scene for a combat, and they have to maybe they've selected a monster in advance, maybe rather than the Rancor, I know what you're thinking, Fred, we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons, not Star Wars, maybe the Rancor that they had planned to use, or the big dragon, will get replaced with something else. Maybe they'll move that out of the way and maybe replace it with something that's less likely to wind up chewing them up, because who hasn't rewatched Return of the Jedi and watched the Rancor chewing and swallowing down those guards? I know I have many times, and it just, as a Dungeon Master, you just can't help yourself thinking, oh, I'd really like to do that in my adventure as well. Maybe they'll replace it with something like a giant worm. Giant worm's not such a great example because, yet again, the same problem with being swallowed. So we'll replace that with something like, maybe they'll replace it with just an air elemental. Now you're just going to get knocked around, bumped around, hurled here, there and everywhere. Not quite so bad. At least there'll be something left of your body, and you won't need to worry about having to use true resurrection or something like that, or reincarnate. It's always a little bit sort of messy, isn't it, really? You can go with your raised dead if there's at least a complete body, rather than having to sort of scour through the dung and the leftovers that have come out the back of some sort of horrible monster. So that's everything I have for today. So hopefully you found it interesting and educational, maybe a little bit entertaining, Please share and like the video. Consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already subscribed. Hit the bell button to be notified when I am live, which I am right now, and when I publish new videos. Now, if you want to support my channel, you did so by watching this video, and gosh, if you've stayed for the entire thing, you did pretty well. I have hundreds more videos for players and Dungeon Masters, and you are welcome to go and check them out. There's a player's guide, and there's also a player's tip series as well. So for those of you who are more players and not Dungeon Masters, maybe that's more your speed. Now, I don't do Patreon, but down in the description you'll find affiliate links to the Book Depository and Amazon. You know the story with these, okay? I get a small commission, you pay exactly the same price, and you just buy the stuff you would normally buy, and if you don't use online shopping, then don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. Now, this is your opportunity to ask questions, give feedback. Maybe you want to disagree with me. Maybe you want to add something else that I have missed. There's always that possibility. Maybe you just want to say hi, or maybe you want to say, bye Fred, I'm gone. You can do that. This is what the live chat box is all for. But if you're not here for live chat, then don't worry. That's what YouTube has provided us with, a comment section down below. So use that that comment section down below. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.